Hello. Hello again.
Hello times two.
Yes, you may notice we're wearing the same clothes as probably the video just before this one.
We haven't showered in like days. I kept these clothes on.
My hair has stayed perfectly the same.
The lighting didn't even change.
We're back again in the same clothes, in the same area, because we are just continuing the conversation that we had talked about earlier this week in regards to Lee's NICU story. So in our last video, we talked more about basically the facts, the timeline, what happened. And now this more is some takeaways from it, some more emotional feelings that we had throughout, and then also the aftermath and what kind of came after the NICU.
First things first, I think we barely touched upon this in the last video, but you need to take care of yourself. There is no trophy for the person who does not take care of themselves and puts 110% into everything else other than themselves. You're in that hospital. There are doctors and nurses there to help you. Take advantage of that when you can, and take care of yourself, because there comes a time when you get discharged, and when you get discharged, that's when you don't have the doctors and nurses. And maybe some people have more help when they get home, like if you live with your parents or multi-generational household, or people come to live with you. But for most people, that's not the case, and that's when you really need to be able to function and have rest, because if you come home on 0% sleep, that's not going to be good for you for your long-term health or your baby's health.
And to defend myself, because I think somebody is referring to me, no, is that one reason that I was, of course, we talked about in the last video, the timing did not allow for a lot of sleep, but I should have taken more advantage of any minute I had. But the other thing is, in the moment, I did not feel like I needed it. And that is because of pure adrenaline. I was running on fumes, but I felt okay because I was just so focused on him. But then once we did leave the hospital, it did all hit me like a ton of bricks, and I realized, oh no, this is what people were warning me about, and I really should have heeded their advice more. And so that is something I will share. If you feel like you're like, no, I got this, I feel fine, like I don't need sleep, it's like, yes, you do, and you really should try to as much as you can.
Especially if you're somebody who sleeps a lot normally, like Ashley, who's like a good 12 hours sleep a night type person.
Used to be.
She really was.
I really was. And that, like 12 hours, like I was like, I could use more, but okay, I'll get up.
There would be days where I would get up at 6 in the morning on like weekends, and Ashley would sleep till like 11.
No, that was not often. I would say
very often.
No.
All the time.
No, that is not true. I would say I averaged 9.
I would say you averaged 9:45.
Agree to disagree.
Disagree to agree. One thing that I became addicted to in the hospital, for comfort reasons and security reasons, was the EKG machines where you can hear the heartbeat. So I would sleep more comfortably knowing that I could hear Lee's heartbeat, beep, 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 and if it stopped or wasn't breathing, somebody would come into the room, because the nurses would be notified. When we left home, I felt very naked without it, and off guard and unarmed, or whatever you want to say. And I was very paranoid that everything was okay, and I kind of kept staring at him to see if he was breathing, and waking up and staring at him to see if he's breathing. And I don't know if I would have done that if I wasn't already addicted to hearing the heartbeat.
I agree. Because I know we had talked about it earlier, and you'd said like maybe it was a good transition because I would have been anxious anyway. But I think it almost, it let you in too much into that knowledge, where it was like, okay, I know too much now.
Yep.
And because there were points where his oxygen level went down, but that would have happened to any baby, but you never would have noticed. And of course, sometimes it could be critical. But for Lee, it was just like, he just needed to like, I don't know.
He skipped a breath.
Yeah, he skipped a breath and it was fine, but you kind of really started getting nervous about that. And I know for me, the machines were very difficult when he would cry, because then his oxygen levels were all over the place. So not only is he like screaming and crying and you're trying to comfort him, but then it's like beep, 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 everything's going off because it's like, he's under stress. And I'm like, I know.
But what I should have noticed was that when that happened in the hospital, sometimes the nurses still wouldn't even come for like 7-8 minutes. So it couldn't have been that urgent. They just know it happens all the time.
Right.
But for me, I'm like, where are they?
Exactly.
And then that also put me in that situation when I'm back home. Like, what if it happens? What if it happens? There's nobody here.
Yeah.
But also other crutches that we got used to there was the
certain methods that they did.
Yeah.
That you can't do at home, and that was
one of them was sugar water. They would give Lee when they had to give him like a prick or something like that, or something to draw blood or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, how do I get some of that? And they were like, no, this is not something you can have. And I was like, it's just sugar water.
But it's understandably why they did it, because again, he is hooked up to so many wires, and especially when he's intubated, there's not much you can do to comfort him. So they would do anything they could to comfort him. And it was okay to do because they had all those machines hooked up so they could see that he was okay. And that was another thing that they had set up that was not okay for once we got home, was the way that they swaddled him. They had a lot of different things in his bassinet that, you know,
propped him up on right, left, whatever. And as you know, or maybe you don't, they can't be with anything in their bassinet except for their swaddle that's got them, or not like this.
Right.
And then they go, ah.
We love those videos of babies stretching. It's so cute. But yeah, so there were some of those methods and procedures that they did where we felt like he kind of got used to. But again, I guess he was used to being my wound, and then, you know, he's just out in the open.
Yeah, not there anymore.
So it was just something that we had to get used to and he had to get used to, but it was an interesting transition. One thing I don't think we went into enough in our last video was just how amazing the NICU staff was. The doctors, the nurses, the front desk, pretty much everyone we interacted with there are just different species. We are so incredibly grateful for them, and they are amazing, and just how caring they are, thoughtful, and
they got to know us, they got to know Lee, to the point where they, you know, it wasn't like they just walked in the room and read the name off the wall and said us, like, you know, they were switching shifts and stuff like that to be with Lee. Like that was really cool. It made us feel really happy and familiar. Like, you want some sense of stability when you're in like a situation like that, and having the same nurse over and over again actually brought, like, okay, Ashley, which is actually our nurse's name, how is today? Like, what's today? And like, she can tell you what's the difference between yesterday and today because she was doing both of them. As opposed to if it was a new nurse, she doesn't really know what happened yesterday. She didn't really experience it, or he didn't really experience it. But it was nice to have that situation. And we even ran into Ashley, the nurse, years later at a fair, and she and Lee got to see each other again and
take an updated picture.
And Ashley and her cried.
Yeah, it was like, because I saw her and she was there for the hospital, and it didn't click, and then all of a sudden I think she like kept eye contact with me, which I'm like shocked that she would remember me, but she was kind of, and I was like, why is she looking at me this way? And I was like, should I know her? I think I do know her. And then all of a sudden both of us were like, and then we're like, oh my God. And it was so wonderful. So great to see her. And then another thing was that just showed how much they cared was one of the interns. It wasn't even her day to be there, and she heard that he was being discharged, because I don't know if Ashley shared it with her, and so she came into the hospital just to say goodbye and say goodbye to us and to Lee, and that really meant a lot to us.
Yeah, and all of them were great, but yeah, they make you feel really special and comfortable and safe.
And on top of that, they're like smart people and what they're doing. It's like, how can you be so smart and so caring and like everything? That's what I'm saying. I just love them all so much. If you are a NICU nurse, if you are a nurse, doctor, whatever it is, you guys are amazing and make the world go round. Keep us safe. On top of just taking care of our son and being there for us and being so caring, they also volunteered extra time on top of that to do more sentimental things that really helped us during our stay and brought some light to it.
Like even the front desk staff or whatever that would, you know, greet you when you came into the NICU.
They said, like, please call us when you're at home, and they were like so open to me calling in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And then on top of that, one thing that was like always meant so much to me, and I still think about today, is the front desk. Just during, you know, during their lunch, off time, whenever they do it, they make these little name cards. It's just a little square of the baby's name, and it's kind of crafty in that they use, you know, certain cardstock. They make it look really cute.
And homey.
And homey. And that was really what it was, exactly. When we got there that first time, that was, you know, aside from just seeing Lee, once I saw that name card, I was just like, it really meant so much to me because... yeah, it made it feel a little bit more homey, a little bit more happier of a situation.
You see all these wires and all these things, and then there's that.
This beautiful name card, yeah.
Gives you a little bit of sense of like humanity. And,
right.
Like, everything hopefully is going to be okay.
Exactly. And again, just because we were new parents and we had just named this baby, we had not said this name many times, and then just to see it written out there, I think to me that really struck me too. I was just like, that's my baby's name, it's Lee. Yeah. And it's written there, and someone's made something for him with his name on it. And not only that, but we are grateful we had the time with him. We got a few pictures of him, but not a lot, because again, we weren't expecting that this was going to be a long stay. And so then once family members were asking for more pictures of him, I was like, I don't know what to send them, because he does not, you know, it was a graphic image, I think, and not one that I was like, I don't want people really sharing and you know, experiencing my son in that way. And so having that name card there, I remember like being very, you know, meticulous on like the placement of like, you could just see his feet. So you weren't seeing like him intubated and everything, but you saw his feet, and then you saw this name card, and it's just so crazy how much that one little name card meant the world to me. And so that is something I was very thankful for.
Yeah, me too.
And another thing is that some of the nurses volunteer their time and resources to make and knit hats for the babies. Yeah. And that was something that again meant the world to me. It was something that we had on him during the NICU, and it kept him warm at times when he did need it, and then we used it when he got home too, and it was something I still cherish to this day. So just those little touches really do mean the world.
One thing I really liked was they had dry erase boards in every room, and on those dry erase boards they have things like who your nurse is, what their shift time is. So like if it's 2 in the afternoon, you know you have Nurse Gracie until 8 p.m. And then at 8 p.m. you're going to get a new nurse. So, you know, I like to be around when the nurses change shifts. So it was helpful for me to, you know, get to see the new nurse and, you know, talk to them or whatever. But also they would put like little goals on there for the day, and it would have like Lee's name on there, like his vitals. Today's goal is to breathe easier.
That was kind of the beginning. I feel like because we weren't sure how things were going, they didn't say much. They just said like breathe easy. But then as you said, things progressed. We started to see like actual tangible things that he was working towards.
Yeah, and then the last one was today's goal was to go home. But it was nice to just have like walk before you can run, little baby steps, like things, you know, to look forward to every day that, you know, showed you that things were okay. Mm-hmm. One moment in all of the hospitals that I will, I will be upfront, I have an abysmal memory. My memory, I have a very tough time remembering things that happened last week.
But he remembered. Yeah.
I can remember statistics and who won the 1993 World Series and who was the 1993 World Series MVP. I cannot remember what I did last weekend most of the time.
I think it's the way you cope.
Maybe. I don't know. I have a terrible memory for things. Like I don't remember much of like at all when Ashley and I were dating. I don't remember much of our early relationship.
Thank goodness for see you real soon.
Right. I don't remember much of it. That's one of the reasons I like video blogging and video documenting and even pictures, because it helps me remember. Like Ashley does these, you know, binders where I kind of keep pushing her to recover on them, but like they have a picture every, you know, what happens every day. Those are very helpful for me because I don't remember what happens a lot of the time, and it sounds really bad, but you know, for me, I still can't forget watching Ashley. Like I would wake up and seeing Ashley singing to Lee because she's exhausted. And she's just sitting there singing over and over again, deep in the 100-acre woods, and going on and just singing that same song over and over and over, and like either like just barely rubbing his like hand or his feet or just looking at him. And she would do this for hours. hours, and it just like, I'm looking at her and I'm like, how did I get so lucky to be with such a good human being? Like, people are like, you know, everybody's, you know, does good things, hopefully, and people do bad things, but like, that just to me was like, you are like a good human being, like, I don't know, like, and I'm just very, very, very lucky to have you. And it makes me very, very happy, and, you know, I don't know what I would do without you. You're just very, very, very sweet person. Very thoughtful, very everything. So yeah, that memory I'll never forget.
And he still loves that song to this day.
Yes,
it's his comforting song. It's the only time he will listen to it.
Yep. So if he like falls and hurts himself,
he asks for it.
Yep. And we'll sing, you know, we'll hold him and, you know, sing Deep in the 100, and then like he'll be like, okay, I feel better. But if like you just pick him up out of nowhere and just sing it to him, he'll be like, why are you singing Deep in the 100? That's not
I'm
like.
not upset. Should I be upset? I'm not upset.
He'll literally
Don't
go,
say
why
that.
Deep in the 100? Why Deep in the 100? Like, yeah, it's very, very funny.
Yeah. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Yeah, it was really...
My hero.
It was the only thing I felt in control of. Again, like he said, there were moments where I couldn't pick him up. So the only thing they said was like, you can hold his head and hold his feet and kind of compress a little bit, because that makes him feel comfort like he was when he was inside me. But, you know, that only went so far. So sometimes the singing was something that was comforting for him. And so yeah, I remember those moments too, and just feeling like there's nothing else I can do, but I'm gonna try and do this.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
3:30 in the morning. Yeah. 4 in the morning. 1 in the morning. I felt like that was like a special bonding time for you guys too. I think he remembers that. As crazy as it sounds,
I know,
like hearing that voice.
about it. One thing we've talked about, the two of us, quite a bit is just, you know, and this could be something where it's like there's nothing that can be done, but I did feel more empowered going into labor and delivery than I did in the NICU or even in the maternity ward. You do often, at least the case was for us, take classes beforehand, and a lot of it is focused on labor and delivery, although there is child care as well. And so I remember with that class, they went over every single medication you could possibly take or pain reliever, and how it either affected you or how it affected the baby, what options you had in regards to a C-section, everything you could imagine in regards to a birth plan. And so I felt very empowered going in when those decisions were being made of saying, you know, no, this is what we learned here and this is what we feel comfortable doing. And it did come up where a nurse had said like, you know, if you know, you are uncomfortable, why don't you just try this pain reliever, you know, it'll ease it off for you. And I was like, yeah, but I remember them saying it made the baby drowsy, and, you know, that was something that we had decided we didn't want to do. And she said, oh, well, let me look around.
No, she goes, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, she kind of pushed back and said, no, it doesn't. And this was the visiting nurse. And and so I said, oh, okay, well, I still don't really feel, and she goes, well, okay. Let me go around, ask all the other nurses that are on duty and see what they think, and we'll do a poll, and so you feel more comfortable. And I said, okay, fine. And so she went around and she came back, she goes, okay, yeah, 5 to 1, me being the only one that said that it did not affect the baby. The others did say it can. And so we said, okay, so, you know, we were able to make that decision. That was something I was comfortable with because I had the knowledge. I knew it was something that they said would not affect, you know, the baby. Of course, if there's something they were telling me I need to do because it's going to help the baby, then I will do it. But that was not one of those cases. And so I guess we always talked about, like, is there anything that could have prepared us more for the NICU? I don't know. Because, of course, like, there's only so much information you can take in general, right? Right. And so why go over all of these
You'll remember,
scenarios?
The more you try to learn, the less you'll learn. Sometimes, to a point, right? There comes a level where you can learn. Then once you hit here, you just learn, it just drops off. Right. There's only so much capacity you have.
So that's something I often think about. You know, I wish we did feel a little bit more empowered and in control, but it is one of those situations where you really are out of control. Yeah. And the only other thing I want to say on that topic is that, you know, Joe had mentioned to me that, you know, you do need to be an advocate for yourself where you can, you know, be respectful of those around you, but also know where you have a right to speak about what you feel you are comfortable with and want to do in regards to your birth plan. Yeah. And I will say that your birth plan will most likely not happen as planned, but it is good to go in with one and to be open to the options that will come once things start to change.
Right.
It's interesting, actually, just a couple days ago, I was talking with another mom, and I just offhandedly, when we started talking about our experiences. Of course, Leah had an experience in the NICU. Her son, who is the same age, has had a lot of experiences and continues to in the PICU, which is the pediatric intensive care unit. And so I offhandedly said, like, oh, but you know, like, don't worry about me. Lee was only in the NICU for 5 days, so like, it's not a big deal. I shouldn't even be talking about it. And she stopped me, and she's been through a lot with her son. Yeah. And she just like looked me in the eye and she goes, Ashley, there is no amount of time where it's people say like, it's okay now for you to have experienced trauma or to feel sad and sorry and heartbroken about your experience and continue to feel affected by it. You know, you were in the NICU and that's all that matters, or your son was in the NICU, and you have every right to have the feelings you have towards that. And that really hit me, because I think that is something that has affected me throughout my time with Lee. And I think, you know, there may have been people here and there, or it may have just been my own voices inside my head that said like, no, like push that down. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you should be grateful for what did happen, because there are so many people that have had so much worse experiences. And that is something I just want to share with any of you, that you can feel however you want to feel, and you should get the help that you need, and not feel that just because your stay may have been short or it may have been better than someone else's, you have every right to get that help and to make sure that you are okay.
And that, I'll just say, that goes for other things too, not just the NICU. Mm-hmm. That goes for a lot of experiences in life.
Absolutely.
Now, we talked about Lee and having the meconium aspiration syndrome because he had meconium in Ashley's water when it broke and he inhaled it, but that's not everybody that inhales it, because Dennis, mm-hmm. They called down the NICU when he was being born because there was meconium in Ashley's water when they broke it, mm-hmm. But he did not inhale it, and as soon as he was born, they gave him like a couple minutes to breathe, and then they dismissed the NICU, and we didn't even realize they left. Right. Ashley didn't even know why the NICU was there. I heard it and I started panicking, mm-hmm. obviously because of Lee, but thank goodness Ashley did not hear it, because I didn't know she didn't hear it, because I was very concerned. She was very concerned. Because
I had heard, again, so much is going on, and this was during while I was pushing, and I think all of that.
Like the last 20 minutes of probably pushing.
And I had heard her say, oh, just as standard, I had just heard the words, just as standard procedure, we are having the NICU come down. And I was like, wow, they have the NICU come down for every baby? This is what's going on in my head. But of course, Joe heard all the details.
Which was, there's meconium in her water. As a standard procedure, we're going to call the NICU down, but actually missed the first part, so thank goodness.
Exactly, because I probably would have started freaking out and thinking like, this is happening all over again. We are so grateful it didn't, and we're also really grateful to see that procedure is in place at the hospital now, because who knows, maybe it wouldn't have been any different for Lee, but it's nice to see that they are taking more precautions to be right there for the baby when those things happen.
Right.
There is so much more that I feel like I could still discuss, and maybe it's something that I will revisit later on, especially about what happened once we left the NICU. I think we talked a little bit more about the emotions throughout the NICU, and then how that affected us a little bit here and there, but there is still so much more. A story like this can affect you as a mom, and that you maybe should keep in mind. So we'll see, maybe it's something we can revisit. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. Do we have any questions for them?
Somewhere you wish you had been more empowered or something like that?
Yeah, I was thinking something like that, yeah. Is there a situation where you were in that you felt like you wished you were more empowered?
Or you are thankful you were empowered?
I just want to say that I appreciate you listening to our story, both the story of Lee at the NICU and then our emotions and everything that followed after that. And we just hope that you will be respectful of the choices that we made and the experiences that we had, and that we felt comfortable in sharing this with you, and we hope that you feel comfortable if you'd like to share as well. So again, thank you for joining me once again for another video.
Of course.
Thank you for listening.
Till next time.